بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين جل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علمك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We said that there are three meanings for husn wal qubh, for goodness and badness. There are three meanings. Two of them are not controversial. There is no disagreement between theologians about the first two meanings. Sometimes husn is used in the sense of perfection, in the sense of something being suitable for a purpose. For example, we say this knife is good. It means that it is sharp and it serves our purpose. When we want to cut something, it's good. We say this machine is good. So there is no disagreement between Asharites or Mu'tazilites or the Shiites about this is something which you can understand it by yourself. You don't need to refer to religion. Sometimes husn means something which is pleasant. For example, you say this color, this fragrance, this taste is good. Again, this is not controversial. The third meaning is something which is controversial, and that is husn in the sense of something which is praiseworthy. Praiseworthy. Bad in the sense of something which is blameworthy. In other words, moral goodness and badness. This is where we have disagreement. And we said Asharites had the idea and still have the idea that good is what is commanded by God or what is done by God. We don't have any independent understanding of good or bad prior to religion. God decides what should be good, what should be bad. God does not need to observe any criteria. There is no moral standard, there is no norm, there is no objectivity. Just God says, do this, it becomes good. God says, don't do this, it becomes bad. He could have changed the list of virtues and vices. He could have changed. So instead of saying you should keep your promise, he could have said you should not keep your promise. Instead of saying be honest, he could have said don't be honest. It's the same. But it has happened that God has chosen these virtues. So this is the way they understand goodness and badness in this third sense. So we said وقالت المعتزلة والإمامية. Here Mu'tazilites from Sunni Islam and Shiites, Imamiyya means Shiites, they share this idea that fil aqli ma yadullu ala dhalik. They believe that in human intellect there is what which can indicate goodness and badness. It means that even if you are not a believer, if you use your aql, you can understand what is good and what is bad. فَالْحَسَنُ حَسَنٌ فِي نَفْسِهِ. What is good in the third sense, what is morally good, is good in itself, intrinsic goodness and badness, and therefore you can understand it by aql. First we say al-husn wal-qubh dhatiyan, then we say al-husn wal-qubh aqliyan. So dhatiyan means they have reality, and then we say aqliyan means now we can discover. If there is a reality, yes. Page 60. Pardon?
Second from bottom.
Yes. 7th line from the bottom. وقالت المعتزلة والإمامية. The last 1/3. So first they say there is a reality for goodness and badness. And second, we say, okay, now there's a chance that we discover that's reality. So al-husn wal-qubh dhatiyan, and therefore also aqliyan. You don't need to say we understand everything about moral goodness and badness by aql. No. Even if you understand one principle by aql is enough to be considered as someone who believes in husn qubh dhati and aqli. فَالْحَسَنُ حَسَنٌ فِي نَفْسِهِ. Something which is morally good in itself. It's not something which is given to it by religion or by an authority. Even if there was no human being in the world, there was no revelation, no communication from God or any authority, there was a difference between honesty and dishonesty. Do you accept? Okay. وَالْقَبِيحُ قَبِيحٌ فِي نَفْسِهِ. What is bad, what is ugly, ugly in the sense of moral ugliness. You know, something which is vicious, something which is bad in itself. سَوَاءٌ حَكَمَ الشَّارِعُ بِذَلِكَ أَوْ لَا. Whether the legislator or lawmaker has made a ruling in this regard or not, it doesn't make any difference. وَنَبَّهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ بِوُجُوهٍ. Doesn't say وَاسْتَدَلُّ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. نَبَّهُ. Why? Why نَبَّهُ? Because you don't need to argue for this. It is self-evident. You need just to awaken people. Tanbih is like awakening. Yeah? You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove. You just need to give a kind of warning, a kind of reminder to people. You know? Sometimes you have to argue for people to understand what is wrong, what is right. Sometimes you just need to remind them. Nabbahu. Al-awwal. One of those ways in which they have tried to activate their innate understanding of this subject is this. إِنَّا نَعْلَمُ ضَرُورَةً حُسْنَ بَعْضِ الْأَفْعَالِ. We know necessarily, or we know as a self-evident fact, goodness of some actions. Some actions are obviously known to be good. Like mubahasa, yeah? كَالصِّدْقِ النَّافِعِ. Like beneficial truthfulness. Beneficial telling the truth. صِدْقِ النَّافِعِ. We are not saying sidq in general. We say sidq, especially sidq al-nafi, beneficial sidq. Is there anyone who says beneficial sidq is not good? Or I don't know? As-sidq al-nafi definitely is good. Wal-insaf, to be fair, is good. No one has doubt that insaf is good. And we had, alhamdulillah, discussion about insaf last year, yeah? Wal-ihsan, benevolence, doing good is good. Waraddul wadi'ah, if someone has entrusted you with a trust, it's good, definitely, necessarily, to give him back. Okay? Raddul wadi'ah. Trustworthiness. Inqadhil halka, to save people who are going to be destroyed otherwise. If you don't help them, they are going to die. They are going to be destroyed. They are going to be killed. For example, there's a person who's starving, and you can save him by feeding him. There's a person who is going to die because he has no money for treatment. You can save him by giving him some money or by offering some treatment. So anyone who is going to be destroyed and you can save him, is there any doubt that this is good? No, there's no doubt. وَأَمْثَالِ ذَلِكَ, and like that. So we know necessarily, or we know as a matter of self-evident fact, that there are good things. Also, similarly, we don't have any ambiguity about badness of some actions. Goodness of some actions and badness of some other actions. كَالْكَذِبِ الضَّارِ. You can say kadhb, but some ulama say kadhib is right. Is better, more accurate than kadhb. Al-kadhbu kadhibun. Al-kadhbu kadhibun means kadhb. Saying kadhb by itself is a kadhb. It's a lie. It's kadhib. Anyway. Kal-kadhib al-dhar. Lying which is harmful. Lying which is not harmful, maybe people doubt. Or lying which is beneficial, maybe people doubt. But lying which is harmful, I don't think there is anyone in the world which says harmful lying is good. Yeah? No one says that. Maybe they do it. But they don't say it's good. Yeah? Al-kadhib al-dhar. Wa-dhulm, injustice, is bad. Al-isa'ah al-ghayr al-mustahaqqa, not mustahiqqa. Doing bad without someone deserving that. Someone has not done any wrong, has not done anything bad, anything wrong, you do bad to him. There is no doubt that this is bad action. Okay? Al-isa'a al-ghayr al-mustahiq. وَأَمْثَالِ ذَلِكَ, and things like that. من غير مخالجة شك فيها. No doubt gets into our mind when we think of these good things and these bad things. There is no doubt coming into your mind. Khalajan means, going around. So no doubt comes to your mind when you think about goodness of the first list and badness of the second list. Okay? No doubt. وَلِذَلِكَ كَانَ هَذَا الْحُكْمِ مَرْكُوزًا فِي جِبِلَّةِ الْإِنسَانِ. Therefore, this judgment is built in the nature of humanity. This is something part of our fabric, part of our fitra, that we understand these things. فَإِنَّا إِذَا قُلْنَا لِشَخْصٍ. If we say to someone, إن صدقت فلك دينار وإن كذبت فلك دينار. If we say to someone, if you tell a lie, you get 1 golden coin. If you tell the truth, you get 1 golden coin. واستوى الأمران بالنسبة إليه. So he knows that he's not going to lose anything if he tells the truth. If you tell the truth, you get 1 golden coin. If you tell the lie, you will get 1 gold. Which one he will do? No, not anyone. He will tell the truth. Because he has no reason to tell the lie. Sometimes people tell lie to get coin because they know by telling lie they get the coin. By telling the truth, they don't get anything. But if you tell him, whether you tell lie or truth, I give you the coin. So which one you are going to say? He says, definitely I'm going to tell the truth. Why I should tell lie? If you are going to give me the coin, I just tell the truth. Yeah? إذا قلنا لشخص, if we say to someone, إن صدقت فلك دينار وإن كذبت فلك دينار. If you tell the truth, you will get 1 golden coin. If you tell a lie, you will get it again. واستوى الأمران بالنسبة إليه. So both sides are equal for him. There is no interest for him in one more than the other. فإنه بمجرد عقله يميل إلى الصدق. Just because of his adl, he would incline towards sidq, truthfulness. Yes? Why he doesn't keep silent?
He's getting a gold coin.
Because if he keeps silent, he doesn't get anything. So he has to say something to get a coin. Now, what to say is equal. So he goes for something which he finds to be moral. Second argument. أنه لو كان مدرك not مدرك مدرك, yeah, in the book is correct. It's correct. مدرك. لو كان مدرك not مدرك مدرك الحسن والقبح والشر. If the one who understands goodness and badness was religion, it means that you don't have any way, any intellectual, rational way to understand. There is no husn qubh aqli, it's only shar'i. لا غير, no other way. لازم ألا يتحقق بدونه. Then it would have implied that we would not have goodness and badness without religion. Is it correct? If husn and qubh was understood only by shar, so it means that without shar we didn't have anything. وَاللَّازَمُ بَاطِل, but we cannot accept this implication. What is implied, which means there would be no husn qubh without shar, is false. We cannot accept that. We will say why it's false. Al-lazimu batil, P, then Q. If Q is false, then P is false. If husn qubh were shar'i, it would have led to the conclusion that there must be no husn qubh otherwise. And we cannot accept this. So, husn qubh is not only shar'i. وأما بيان اللزوم فالامتناع تحقق المشروط بدون شرطه. Because something which is conditional upon something, if that shart is not there, the conditional would not happen. Let us explain. Imagine you have people who have no faith. من لا يعتقد الشرع. Someone has no faith. ولا يحكم به. He doesn't rule or judge according to shar. كالملاحدة. Atheists. Atheists, they don't have any shar. وحكماء الهند. Philosophers of India who don't follow a divine religion like Judaism or Christianity or Islam. Maybe they have religion, a tradition, but not a Sharia. They don't have Sharia. These people يعتقدون حسن بعض الأفعال. They believe in goodness of some actions. وقبح بعض. They believe in badness of some action. Do they have shar? No, they don't believe in shar. But still they believe something is good, something is bad. If goodness and badness were only coming from shar, these people should not have any understanding of goodness and badness. يعتقدون حسن بعض الأفعال وقبح بعض. They believe in goodness of some actions and badness of some other actions. من غير توقف في ذلك. They don't stop judging. They don't suspend judgment there. من غير توقف. They don't suspend judgment. They make judgment. فلو كان مما يعلم بالشرع. If goodness or badness were only understood by shar, لما حكم به هؤلاء. These people would not have judged. People who have no faith in Sharia, they would not have judged, but we see that they judge. The third, لَوْ انْتَفَى الْحُسْنُ وَالْقُبْحُ الْعَقْلِيَانِ انْتَفَى الْحُسْنُ وَالْقُبْحُ الشَّرْعِيَانِ. Some people say husn al-qub are ugly. Some people say husn al-qub are shari. We say you have to accept it is ugly, because if you don't accept it is ugly, even shari would not make sense. If you don't accept ugly, even shari will be removed. لَوْ انْتَفَى الْحُسْنُ وَالْقُبْحُ. If we refute, if we reject rational or intellectual goodness and badness, انْتَفَى الْحُسْنُ وَالْقُبْحُ الشَّرْعِيَّانِ. Even religious goodness and badness would be refuted. But you cannot refute this, so you cannot accept that husn qub is not ugly. Why? Why, if we don't believe in rational or intellectual goodness and badness, it leads to even rejecting religious goodness and badness? Because this is the way to prove religion. You cannot prove religion unless you accept some basic moral values rationally. For example, before coming to religion, you have to establish that this prophet is a true prophet. Yeah? Before you say that the book, the revelation that has come to him is reliable, you have to establish that he's a true prophet. How can you establish someone is a true prophet? You say he has brought miracle. Okay. Why God cannot give miraculous power to a liar? How do you refute this possibility? Maybe someone says, yes, he has miraculous power, but he's a liar. And God doesn't bother to give miraculous power to a liar who wants to deceive us. How do you refute this idea? If you say, we refute this idea because in the book that this person has brought says God doesn't tell lie, it's to beg the question. Because still you have not proved the book. This is something that you have to establish rationally. You have to say God, who is wajibul wujud, who is perfect, who has no need, he would not deceive. Those who deceive are because either they are not benevolent, or they want to gain something out of this, or they have a need that they want to meet. Someone who is good and absolute in power and knowledge, why he should deceive? Okay? So, if you don't accept these basic moral understanding of human beings, and you say we don't understand anything about morality before coming to religion, so you cannot establish in the first place the truth of a person who claims to be prophet. You cannot establish the truth of that message. So, those who don't accept al-husn wal-qub al-aqliyain, they end up with rejecting even al-husn wal-qub al-shar'iyain, and it means that we don't have any understanding of moral goodness or badness. Bayanul mulazamah بانتفاء قبح الكذب حينئذ من الشارع. We say the implication, it can be explained in this way, that why even Shari would not have any difficulty in doing bad things. إِذِ الْعَقْلُ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِقُبْحِ. Because you say aqli is not ruling here anything, judging anything here, because you didn't accept in husn qubh aqli. Okay? And Shari also has not made any judging about this by himself. So, it's possible that he may tell lie. Or as I explained it, the way I explained maybe is better than what is in the book. That what is wrong in God supporting a liar, that is what I suggested. Or to say, Aql doesn't say that God does not tell lie, and God himself has not said that he doesn't tell lies, so he may tell lies. So what is wrong with that? If you say God can tell lies, then whatever he says in Sharia is also not reliable. So there is no husn qubh Sharia. وَإِذَا انْتَفَى قُبْحُ الْكِذْبِ مِنْهِ. When ugliness of lying is rejected, is not established, انْتَفَى الْوُثُوقِ. We would have no trust, we lose our trust in goodness of God says to be good. and we lose our trust in badness of what God says to be bad. You totally lose your trust. So, we have to accept that goodness and badness in moral sense are real issues, they are objective issues, and religion does not create, does not invent moral standards. Religion informs us about goodness and badness, and we can understand partly through aql, we can understand also through religion. Religion can help us in understanding details, can understand, understanding priorities, can correct our mistakes. But it's not that everything we need to know comes from religion about akhlaq. I gave you the example of Imam Hussein saying to people in the army of Yazid and Umar Sa'ad that إِلَّمْ يَكُنْ لَكُمْ دِينٌ وَكُنْتُمْ لَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ. If you have no religion and you don't fear akhirah, at least you have to be noble, and free here means noble. You have to be noble in your worldly life. It means that you don't need to be a Muslim or Christian or Jew or any religious person to understand that you should not attack innocent people. Yeah? So even if you are a person without faith, you understand that this is a bad thing to attack innocent people. Yes.
Is it possible for any non-Muslim or non-believing society to become morally high? Because is it possible?
Yes. But those who are religious, especially if they follow a true religion, they have access to deeper levels of morality. But even a non-religious person or society can be very moral, because many things we understand through our fitrah. Imagine if you have a society that they don't tell lies, they don't do zulm, they are fair, they are kind. So it means very high standard.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Sorry. So does the human intellect understand all of moral behaviors or just basic ones? For example, the examples here, they're quite evident ones. But there are those which...
At least the basic principles can be understood. What we need more is what to do when these values conflict. That's the difficulty. Normally, all societies, all human beings agree about virtues. But when two virtues conflict, what should we do? For example, everyone says life has value. Everyone says people should be autonomous. But when we have a mother who wants to abort the child, then here we have a conflict. Should we give priority to the autonomy of mother, or we should give priority to the life of the embryo? Here we need guidance. Here you see rational people get confused. They don't know what to do. Otherwise, if there is no conflict, everyone understands that we should respect autonomy of people. We should respect the life of the embryo. But when there is a conflict, so in my understanding, the main role of religion is to correct us in our judgments when something becomes clouded because there are differences of opinions, because there are conflicting values, or you want to prioritize. People sometimes know what is important, but they don't know what is more important. So they may invest on something which is less important. These are issues that you need guidance from religion. Plus, there are sometimes very delicate issues, very deep issues that again you need guidance. Many issues about the spirituality, you need guidance. Yes.
Sorry. So you mentioned that there are two roles for religion. One is that in the case of conflicts, to prioritize which one should be prioritized over the other, and the other one is or deeper levels of spirituality. So on the first point,
It's not only these two. There are other roles, like providing us with sanction. Religion gives you more determination. If you know something is good, you may do it, you may not do it. But if you know that this is something that God is going to reward you for it, then you will have more reason, motivation. Or if you know something is going to be punished for, you will have more motivation to avoid it. Yes.
okay, so just going back to the point of the conflict, but is it clear in religion if there is conflict of doing two good things or two bad things, taking the lesser bad or the better, or there's so many different interpretations of what those priorities are. It's not black and white. So one would say, okay, what is, if everyone's got like different Islamic philosophers, they have their own moral theories, then Western philosophy, they have their own moral theories as well, which they can have criteria as which one to go with. So what is the benefit of this?
So when these conflicts arise, sometimes religion is very clear about it. Like, for example, we know that we should not kill our children out of poverty. Like, some people were killing their children because they were poor. لا تقتلوا أولادكم خشية إملاق. Or, you should not bury your daughter alive. Or, for example, if a child is grown and has a spirit, you should not, abort the child. Religion is clear. But there might be cases that the religion has different interpretations. So you have to go by the best interpretation, which is the interpretation which is based on a clear methodology and comes from real scholarship. But yes, I accept that there may at the end remain cases that even religious people may get puzzled about it. But compared to the people who have no religion, this is much little. So if, for example, in 100 issues and debates, they don't have guidance, maybe we in 10 issues, don't know what to do. But even here, we can, of course, follow the most knowledgeable person and, the pious people and, get ijtihadi understanding of this. The second issue is about freedom. So the first issue was about human intellect judging about goodness and badness in a moral sense. The second issue is we human beings are free. We have been given by God free will to choose what is good or what is bad. We can choose between them. الثاني في إنا فاعلون بالاختيار. We act by free will. You choose and act. وَالضَّرُورَةُ قَاضِيَةٌ بِذَلِكَ. Again, you don't need to prove this. It's self-evident. If someone says, prove that we are free, it's actually maybe not possible to prove. Or it's very difficult to prove. You understand? Again, here we mention something just to awaken your innate understanding. وَالضَّرُورَةُ قَاضِيَةٌ بِذَلِكَ. Necessity or self-evident fact, rules like this. Why? He gives you an example. He says, refer to your conscience, refer to your aql, to your fitra. Do you see any difference between these two or not? If you don't see any difference, so you don't need to accept free will. If you see the difference, that's because of free will. If someone is coming down, for example, from a mountain, step by step, and someone is dropping from edge of a cliff. So he was walking, then he fell down and he's dropping. Or someone was on the sky, a skipper, then he fell down. When he is coming down, you see he has no control. It's not him deciding, to go down. But this is totally different from someone who is coming down from a mountain, climbing down from a mountain. He has control. If you say we are forced to do things, it means that these two are the same. Someone who is dropping and someone who is coming down. Do you see the difference or not?
Clearly.
Okay. للفرق الضروري. There is a clear distinction, difference between two things. سقوط الإنسان من سطح, when someone is falling down from a surface, means there is a floor, there is a ground, he falls down. Like there was a cliff, he falls down, or from a roof, he falls down. This is سقوط, like dropping. وَنُزُولِهِ مِنْهُ عَلَى الدَّرَجِ, or he comes down on a ladder or a staircase. He decides, he comes, very slowly, carefully, he comes down. These two are not the same. وَإِلَّا, otherwise, if we didn't have free will, there would be bad consequences, unacceptable consequences. So we are free. This is self-evident. We give you one example to remind you of this self-evident fact. And we say, if we were not free, there were bad consequences. For example, لَمْ تَنَعَ تَكْلِيفُنَا بِشَيْءٍ. It was impossible for God to impose any obligation on us. If we are not free, what does it mean to say do this and don't do this? فَلَا إِسْيَانَ, there is no disobedience. If you are forced and then you commit a sin, you are not a sinful person. Yeah, if someone is forced to commit a sin, he's not a sinful person, so he should not be punished. وَلِقُبْحِ أَنْ يَخْلُقَ الْفِعْلَ فِينَا ثُمَّ يُعَذِّبَنَا عَلَيْهِ. It's not acceptable, it's morally wrong. If we were not free, and God creates in us the actions because we are not doing ourselves, God creates in us bad actions, and then He punishes us for what He has created in us without us having any role. Yeah? وَلِلسَّامِعِ, also because of transmitted arguments, something from Scripture, from Quran and Hadith, also we can argue that we are free. So we argue from Quran and Hadith, we argue from Fitrah, and also we say it has bad consequences if you refute free will. So this is the main text. Now we go to the commentary. Aghul Fazil Miqdad Rahmatullah alayh says, ذهب أبو الحسن الأشعري ومن تابعه. Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari and whoever follows him, like other Asha'ira, they have chosen this idea. Zahaba here doesn't mean went. Means he has chosen this opinion. أن الأفعال كلها واقعة بقدرة الله تعالى. All the actions occur by the power of God. وَأَنَّهُ لَا فِعْلَ لِلْعَبْدِ أَصْلًا. And the servant has no action. Everything an action of God, and servant has no action at all. أصلا. So what is our role? He said, you are the subject in which God creates His actions. So when you say your prayer, God is creating prayer in you. When someone commits a sin, God is creating that sin in him, in this person. And they say, you being the subject or being the place for this action is kasb. Because Quran says, لَهَا مَا كَسَبَتْ وَعَلَيْهَا مَا اكْتَسَبَتْ. So say, kasb, acquisition, is you are the place in which God creates His actions. That's the only role that you have. But this is against justice, and we cannot accept this.
So they don't believe in the concept of amal and hisab and good and bad and...
They believe, but the way they believe in it doesn't make sense. So they say you do something, but what you do is not really what you do. What you do is just what happens through you. Yeah?
This is Jabriya, isn't it?
Yes, it leads to determination and predestination.
Allah can't
Okay.
punish you then.
Pardon?
So Allah can't punish you. Do they believe this? That if you do bad and it is a fi'l of Allah, then He shouldn't punish you.
But according to them, God can punish.
Hmm.
Because you cannot say God should not punish. God does what He wants. وَقَالَ بَعْضُ الْأَشْعَرِيَّةِ Some of them have said that they wanted to be a little bit more kind of acknowledging the role of human beings. Okay, so they wanted to give a little role to human beings. They say, إِنَّ ذَاتَ الْفِعْلِ مِنَ اللَّهِ The nature, the essence of the action is from God. وَالْعَبْدُ لَهُ الْكَسْبِ And the servant does the kasb. What is kasb? Means that you turn it into an act of piety or act of disobedience. God creates the action, but depending on your, for example, intention or the way you decide, you can turn it into act of obedience or act of disobedience. These people have tried to acknowledge the role of human beings more. So, unlike those people who say kasb is just you are the subject or the place, they say you can decide whether to make it good or bad.
It's really going to Mu'tazili side.
Mu'tazila are different.
Totally.
Mu'tazila are here similar to Shia. وَالْعَبْدُ لَهُ الْكَسْبِ وَفَسَّرُوا الْكَسْبِ Then they have interpreted kasb in this way. بأنه كون الفعل طاعة أو معصية. This aspect, whether it is obedience or disobedience, is decided by you. God creates the action, but you are the one who chooses the flavor of it or the color of it. وقال بعضهم معناه إن العبد إذا صمم العزم على الشيء. When the servant, some of them have chosen this view. They say when you decide to do something, you don't do it. God creates that action after your decision. You don't have no role. I don't know if you are familiar with occasionalism in Western philosophy, like Malebranche. So, occasionalism means that there is no relation between cause and effect. Okay? So, there is fire, and after that, the wood burns. But they say there is no connection. This just happens. Asharites had this idea that fire doesn't burn. But adatullah jarat, the habit of God is that after there is fire, He burns the wood. You think that fire is burning the wood, but fire is not burning the wood. These are totally disconnected. But this is the habit of God. And sometimes He acts out of, not like habit, like Ibrahim. In the case of Ibrahim, he didn't act according to his habit. So there was fire, but God decided not to burn Ibrahim. So they deny relation between cause and effect. So these people say, إِنَّ الْعَبْدِ إِذَا صَمَّمَ الْعَزْمَ عَلَى الشَّيْء When he makes it up his mind and is determined to do something, خَلَقَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى الْفِعْلَ عَقِيبَهُ Then after that, God creates the action. Just after that, no causal relation. Yes?
Go back just to this point of the kasb, where he said that Allah creates the action and then through us we decide if it's.
Yes.
So if I've understood it correctly, are we saying that God...
There are many different opinions among Asharites about kasb. So even they disagree about what is kasb.
Just to understand this one, is it, for example, God creates stealing and we do it, but from us it becomes good or evil? Is that what we're saying?
God creates prayer in you, but you can make it honest prayer or you can make it riyah. You can make this prayer riyah, you can make it sincere prayer.
From a good action, it's easy to understand, but from a bad action,
You didn't have a choice in praying.
no, I'm saying bad action because we still have husn and qub. Husn, you can say that because of riyah, you can make it a bad action, but with qub, there's no discussion of good intention, bad intention.
For example, God gives you the ability of doing something good, but you kill someone. You could have not killed someone. You could have used it in another way. But they are not very sophisticated. They say something not thinking about all the consequences. You don't need to worry about it. The reason is they have chosen a principle that now they have to just justify, and sometimes it would be very difficult position to hold.
God's actions could be bad as well.
Pardon?
God's actions could be bad as well.
God's action is not bad.
But he was the one who created the action of, let's say, lying.
According to them.
According to them, whether it is bad or good is decided by you.
It's created by Allah.
Pardon?
It's decided by you, but
Created by
Allah.
God. Yeah.
So he's then created the
Because
bad
you decide,
according to them.
then you are responsible and you have to be blamed or praised, for example. According to some of them. According to some of others, you don't have any role. Yes.
Sheikh, according to this last view here, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if a servant decides something
Yeah.
and decides upon it, then Allah creates that action.
Yeah.
The only problem I see with that is that it's without causal relation. Otherwise, it seems exactly what Surah Al-Baqarah says.
Yeah. So this is good in the sense of sorting out the responsibility because you decide. So from this aspect is good. But the problem is that it denies causality. This is the problem. وقالت المعتزلة والزيدية والإمامية. Mu'tazila, a group of Sunni theologians. Zaydiyya, they believe in 4 Imam. But in their Kalam and their fiqh, they can be very different from the Shia, 12ers. Wal Imamiyya, which means 12ers. They said, إن الأفعال الصادرة من العبد. The actions which are issued from the servant of God, from people, وصفات, it means صفات الأفعال, the qualities of the actions. والكسب الذي ذكروا, the acquisition that they have mentioned, كلها واقعة بقدرة العبد واختياره. All is according to the power and free will of the servant, which are of course given by God to the servant, but God has made his servants capable and free to do things. وَإِنَّهُ لَيْسَ بِمَجْبُورٍ عَلَى فِعْلِهِ. The servant of God is not forced to do his actions. بَلْ لَهُ أَنْ يَفْعَلْ وَلَهُ أَلَّا يَفْعَلْ. The servant can do or can decide not to do. If you remember, we said قدرة means كون الفاعل بحيث إذا شاء فعل وإذا لم يشاء لم يفعل. This is the meaning of قدرة. When you want to do something, you do it. When you don't want to do it, you don't do it. وهو الحق. This is right. لوجوه. We mentioned few points, few arguments. 1. الأول إننا نجد تفرقة ضرورة بين الصدور الفعل منا تابعا للقصد والداعي كالنزول من السطح على الدرج وبين صدور الفعل لا كذلك كالسقوط منه. The first point is this. إننا نجد, we find تفرقة, distinction. We can distinguish ضرورة, self-evidently, between an action being issued from us after deciding to do it and after having motivation, like you decide to come down from a ladder or from a staircase, and something which is issued from you without wanting and without having motivation, like dropping from the edge of a cliff. You find distinction between these two. If you don't find distinction, we can throw you from the edge of the, so that you can find the distinction. Okay? So you find the distinction or no?
Yes, yes.
Please don't try.
Okay. كالسقوط منه. And when you are falling, it can be مع القاهر, someone is forcing you to drop, or مع الغفلة, you were heedless, you didn't see there is a, cliff here, there is a something dangerous, you didn't, notice. So either qahir, there is someone who forces you, or ghafla, you are heedless. فَإِنَّا نَقْدِرُ عَلَى التَّرْكِ. When it comes to coming down a step by a step from a staircase, you can anytime decide and say, I don't want to go any further down. I stop here. I want to go back. I want to stop here. Okay? But when you are falling from the edge of the cliff, you cannot stop. It's not up to you to say, I want to stop and check my emails and then go there. You have to go. فَإِنَّا نَقْدِرُ عَلَى التَّرْكِ فِي الْأَوَّلِ دُونَ الثَّانِي. In the first case, which is when you come from a staircase or ladder, you can stop. But in the second, no. وَلَوْ كَانَتِ الْأَفْعَالُ لَيْسَتْ مِنَّا. If our actions were not from us, so all of them should have been the same. لَكَانَتْ عَلَى وَتِيرَةٍ وَاحِدَةٍ مِنْ غَيْرِ فَرْقٍ. They should all be the same way, without any difference. لَكِنَّ الْفَرْقَ حَاصِلٌ. But there is a difference, there is a distinction. فَيَكُونُ مِنَّا. So what is the difference? Where does difference come from? It comes from us. When you come down, you have a role. You decide. When you are falling down from the edge of the cliff, you don't have any role. الثاني, the second point. لو لم يكن العبد موجدا لأفعاله. If the servants of God are not creating their actions, لم تنع تكليفه. It's impossible to impose on them obligations. You cannot ask them to do something. If they are not free, you cannot expect them to do something. Taklif doesn't make sense. Why? Because then it becomes taklif bima la yutaq, wa illa lazima taklifu bima la yutaq. If they have no role and still you do taklif, you ask them to do something, it means that you are asking them to do something which they cannot do it. وَإِنَّمَا قُلْنَا ذَلِكَ لأنه حينئذ غير قادر على ما كلف به. Because he is not able of doing what he is asked to do. فلو كلف لكان تكليفا بما لا يطاق. If he was asked to do something, in this case when he has no free will, it means that you are asking him to do something that he is not able to do. لا يطاق means it's not possible to do it. وَهُوَ الْمَطْلُوبُ بِالْإِجْمَاعِ. But we know that there can be taklif. وَإِذَا لَمْ يَكُنْ مُكَلَّفًا لَمْ يَكُنْ عَاصِيًا بِالْمُخَالَفَةِ. And if there is no taklif, there is no disobedience. And if he disobeys, he is not sinful. بِالْمُخَالَفَةِ means not acting according to taklif is not sin. لكنه عاصٍ بالإجماع. So everyone says we become sinful. So everyone says you have taklif. Everyone says you become sinful if you don't act according to taklif. So it means that we must be free. Because if we are not free, there was no taklif and there was no sinfulness. الثالث only 7 lines, 6 lines and a half. So please bear with me. Okay. الثالث أنه لو لم يكن العبد قادرا موجدا لفعله. If the servant of God was not powerful, capable of doing according to his will, he was not creating his own action, لَكَانَ اللَّهُ أَظْلَمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Na'udhu billah, God would be the most unjust person. بيان ذلك. Why? إن الفعل القبيح إذا كان صادرا منه تعالى. If bad action is issued by God, okay, it's coming from us, but who created this? If God has created, if you don't believe in free will, it means that God has created this bad action in us. استحالت معاقبة العبد عليه. It's impossible to punish the servant for something that God has created in him. لأنه لم يفعله, because the servant has not done it. So it's impossible to punish him because he has not done it. لكنه تعالى يعاقبه اتفاقا. But there is consensus that some criminals, not all of them, but some criminals will be punished. Even if it's few, but there's consensus that there are people who will be punished. Even if one person is going to be punished, there's a problem. If he's not free, why that one person should be punished? Okay? لكنه تعالى يعاقبه اتفاقا. There is consensus that there will be punishment. فيكون ظالما. So God, na'udhu billah, becomes unjust. تعالى الله عنه. God is to be glorified with respect to this. God is more glorious, too glorious to be doing zulm. And the last reason, we said as-sama'. You remember? We said that las-sama'. Now we have to bring arguments from scripture. الكتاب العزيز الذي هو فرقان بين الحق والباطل. What does it mean, الكتاب العزيز? Yeah, how do you translate al-aziz? No. Aziz here doesn't mean. إنه لكتاب عزيز لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه. Izzah, the dignified, which means the book which is not possible for falsehood to penetrate into it.
From the back, from the
لا يأتيه الباطل. It's very strong, fortified, dignified, no way for batil to infiltrate. Yeah, batil cannot infiltrate. الكتاب العزيز الذي هو فرقان بين الحق والباطل مشحون بإضافة الفعل إلى العبد, is full of reference to attributing action to the servants. You find many places in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is done by this is done by people, this is done by individuals, either general or particular people. وَأَنَّهُ وَاقٌ بِمَشِيَّتِهِ, and it happens according to the mashiyah and the will of people. People are responsible. For example, فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ. The people who write the book with their own hand and then they say it's from God. So, is this action attributed to some people or not? So it means that they have a role. If God is creating this in them, they shouldn't be blamed. إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ. They don't follow except suspicion. So it means they do follow suspicion. حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. God is not going to change the condition of people unless they change their own condition. مَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا يُجْزَ بِهِ. Whoever does something bad, he would be
get the jaza.
so he would be punished, or he would be, can we say compensed? Recompensed. He would be recompensed. Because jaza can be both reward and punishment. كُلُّ امْرِئٍ بِمَا كَسَبَ رَهِينٌ. every person is held responsible with respect to what he has done. Somehow you are under the burden of what you have done, or you are responsible for what you have done. You are taken as hostage with what you have done. It means this. It means your action takes you as hostage. You cannot run away from your action.
It's rahan.
Pardon?
Rahan.
Yeah. جزاء بما كنتم تعملون, as a reward or as a recompensation for what you have been doing. So this shows that you are responsible for what you do. Okay, so inshallah we continue this discussion next week inshallah. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.